Booth Grizzly?
No, I was actually going to stay backstage and let you run the whole show. Welcome, everybody, to another edition Spiritual Street Talk with Alethea Jacob. And tonight, she is going to take you on a journey when it comes to angels and other relic beings that have influence on us. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. When I was, let's see, I'm hearing music playing in the background. Are you hearing music?
Yes, that was me playing your intro music for you.
Absolutely. Oh, okay. If you remember, one of the last times we went live, I had something playing in the background that was messing it up. So I didn't know if I did that again.
Right.
Oh, hi, Anna. Yeah. So when I was thinking about what would be really interesting to talk about tonight, what came to mind is the role of angels and extraterrestrials and benevolent interdimensional beings that have been helping humanity for as long as we've been around, if they weren't even responsible for why we're around, depending on who you ask or what you read. So I thought that might be kind of interesting because when I first started thinking about this or reading about it and hearing about it, a lot of it expanded my thinking, especially when it came to thinking of extraterrestrials as angels or thinking of interdimensional beings as angels. Because you can look back in scriptures of all kinds and they refer to the angels that come to minister to mankind, to help mankind, to swoop them out of danger, to come and fight battles, to do different things. And I've always been a huge fan of and lover of angels. And so I was like, all right. And I've had some angel experiences. And so I thought, well, I can share some of my stories. And I also have had a few encounters with some interdimensional beings. And so I thought, well, I'll share a couple of the stories, but I just wanted to make sure everybody understands that there truly are benevolent forces that are there to help us. And it is totally not just cool, but it's recommended that we call out to them and ask for their help in situations. Because the more that we ask, it's in some ways, the way that I understand it, it's sort of like they have a do not interfere policy most of the time, unless there's something really dire that's going to happen or life-threatening that's about to happen. And then they have a little latitude if they can jump in. But if you're just struggling with a certain issue in your life and you're like, why isn't my guardian angel helping me? Or why aren't my benevolent spirits helping me? Don't they know what I need? And they're like, you just didn't ask. It's almost like you have free will and free choice. And if we don't ask for their help explicitly, they can be the best spiritual cheerleaders for us and hope the best for us, but they can't take action on our behalf unless we actually ask them. So, and invite them. And obviously it's appropriate for whatever it is that we're asking them to do for us or to help us. Based on what our soul programming is, what our purpose is. Have we learned that lesson already? We can ask them to help alleviate pains and to heal, to whatever degree we can. But we have to remember that whatever we're battling was initiated to raise our awareness or to bring our attention to something. And if we haven't processed that and dealt with that fully, they can't just take whatever that is away from us, because that would actually steal a lesson from us or prevent some growth or prevent a new path or opportunity that would have come our way if we had seen that through. So that being said, I think I'm going to share two different stories, one of an angel one and one of interdimensional being, just for the heck of it. And then I did pick some cards to be a group message for the day. And so it doesn't matter if you're watching this live or watching this later on. If you're watching this, the messages that are coming will definitely be for you. And then I'll open it up to whatever questions and see where the conversation leads us with who's ever on the chat. Because a big part of this show, as far as I'm concerned, is I want it to be addressing your questions, your issues, things that are of most interest to you. So I kind of jumpstart it in one area and then, see where it goes. I think that'll make it a little bit more fun and more dynamic and really open us up to let spirit guide it too, because it's not scripted at all, right? So the two stories. So my first angel story, I was back in New York. I was trained as a Reiki master and I lived in Connecticut at that time. And a friend of mine was another Reiki master in New York, and they were having a Reiki share. And what a Reiki share is you have a couple different massage tables set up and multiple students or practitioners will come, and one person is laying on a table and then 3 or 4 practitioners are running Reiki around them. And you kind of go through different positions to do some healing for that person. And then after a certain amount of time, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever is decided for the group and the size of the group and how much time you have, that person gets off. Another person gets on and everybody rotates positions. So at the end of the day, everybody's had a chance to work all the different positions around the body and be on the table receiving the healing energy. So this was a Sunday afternoon and I drove down to Manhattan. I schlepped my massage table and I found a parking space about a block away. And this was one of those long city blocks. But because it was a Sunday, everything was closed. It was more of a industrial part of the city. So there really wasn't anything open. So I go and I have this beautiful day. And after we're done, I bring my massage table back to my car and I get in my car and my car won't start. And I'm like, what? Right. So I'm like, oh, so I go back to the apartment and I call that. This was before cell phones. So I called my brother, who was a mechanic, and I'm like, Rich, what do I do? And he's like, oh, you can try this and this and this. And he said, and there's also this valet switch kind of thing that's sort of under the steering wheel. And if you press and turn it and do this, that, and the other thing, it'll start the car. And I was like, okay, as long as the key was present somewhere, it would do that. So right. I try to do that. Can't figure it out. And I put my head and on my hands on the steering wheel, and I just offer a prayer. And I'm like, dear Lord, I came down, and it's about a 2-hour drive from Connecticut to come down here. I said, I came all the way down here. We had this amazing day. Please, I just want to go home. I need help. Right. I had literally just uttered the words, and I hear from outside, standing on the road next to my car, I hear a voice say, do you need some help, lady? And wow. I turn and I look, and there is a man with the most beautiful blue eyes. He had sandy brown hair, like blondish brown hair, average height and build, but he was wearing a mechanic's uniform. No shit, right? I'm like, you got it. I'm like, well, yes. And I told him what happened. And he says, oh, I know how to fix that. So I get out of the car. I walk around the car and sit in the passenger seat while he jumps in and he starts fiddling around. Sure enough, he gets the car started. And I'm like, oh, I'm so delighted. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. And he hops out of the car. I grab my purse and come around to walk around the car because I want to give him some money to thank him. He's vanished. And I'm looking around. This is a long New York City block. There's no alleyways. There's nothing that's open. He just vanished. So I just started crying and like with gratitude and like, well, thank you so much. So I literally had an angel show up, and I'm laughing afterwards. I'm like, wait a minute, mechanic's uniform. There's nothing open on Sunday back then.
Right.
Who was this guy? Where did he come from? And I'm like, oh, well, clearly that was an angel. So that was very cool. That was a time where my heartfelt prayer was instantly answered. And to me, I have no doubt that was an angel who showed up to help me. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then I lived in New York in the Hudson Valley in the 80s when it was quite the hot spot for UFO stuff. And there were times when I would be commuting back and forth to work on the highway, and a whole bunch of us would pull over because up in the sky, we'd see this blackish, navy blue kind of triangular shaped thing with lights on it, just hovering. And we're like, well, that's different, you know? And I lived by a lake, excuse me. I lived by a lake, and every now and again I would see like a glowing green orb hovering above it. And then all of a sudden it would go down into the water, and I'd be like, that's different.
Well,
and then one day I was in my massage and healing room with a girlfriend, and we had just taken the reconnective healing, Dr. Eric Pearl's healing protocols, and we were practicing on each other. And so I have a healing room. The windows were closed. The door was closed. There was no AC in that room. It's an old little lake house. And I'm sitting there. I'm on the table. She had her hands on my head. And all of a sudden, the temperature in the room dropped about, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 degrees. All of a sudden, there was a chill in the air and a breeze in the room. And there's no windows open and no door open and no AC vents. So I'm like, okay, that was different. You know, I'm like, why is it getting cold in here? And then I feel two hands come across their the palm of the heel of their palm was on one hip, and then the other one was on my other hip, and their fingers met above my belly button. So
wow.
They were really long fingers, and there were only 3 of them. And I opened my eyes, but I didn't see anything, but I still felt the pressure. And in my mind's eye, I saw a very tall, blue-ish being, and it just radiated this love and said it was helping to heal something genetically that I didn't know I was aware of, and he was helping to adjust something for me. And so I was like, thank you. And I asked my girlfriend, and I said, Roseanne, are you seeing what I'm seeing? And she said, well, I felt the room change. And she said, I feel a presence. I don't see it, but I feel a presence in the room. And I told her what I was seeing. And she said, oh, that makes total sense, you know, because we're doing healing. And we basically invite, one of the things you do, or I do, or we did back then, was whenever you're doing healing, after you start with a prayer and bless the space, you invite any benevolent beings in spirit who would like to assist in the healing. So whether they're guardian angels, loved ones in spirit, guides, whoever, master healers, whoever is available and is willing to come assist, it's like, come on down, right? So we got an answer that time, loud and clear. So it was very physically palpable, and it was cool. It was nothing scary. You know, it was like one of those spooky cool moments, you know, where you go, well, just thanks. And wow, that's really cool. And I wonder where it came from and where it went. And that's when it really got me thinking about interdimensional beings. And part of the reason we can't see them most of the time, or we can only see them with our psychic sight, is because they're vibrating at such a quicker level than we are. And the portals that they come in and out of are just outside of our awareness because, again, of the speed that they're resonating or vibrating at. So those were 2 experiences I had. So for me, when I think about angels and I think about these interdimensional beings, I will always give thanks and call out to the benevolent beings. I specify that, beings of light, benevolent beings. And I usually will ask for any that are more advanced, wiser, smarter, more skilled. You know, I don't want like, you know, the beginner, you know, helper coming along who doesn't really know what they're doing. I want somebody who really knows what they're doing if they're going to come and work with me, right? So I kind of put that into the mix. But yeah, so I know firsthand that there are benevolent forces that are there to help us when we ask for it. And even sometimes, you know, we may not, like, I didn't know that there was something that needed extra healing that this interdimensional being could assist with. But we had, when we said our prayers, we invited anybody who wanted to come and help in ways that they could help to come, you know, so it was sort of like, oh, well, that was really cool. And the fact that there was the physical sensation of the temperature in the room changing and dropping that 10 or 15 degrees, and the sensation of a cool breeze when the portal opened, that was very cool. And very affirming, you know, like we want to believe we're not alone in the universe. You know, a lot of us, I imagine most of the people that are tuned into the paranormal in general, you know, it excites us. It's fun when we get evidence of, yeah, there really is something else out there as well. And isn't it cool that, you know, there are benevolent forces that can come to our aid, you know, when the time is right and when we ask and when we need it. So those are the two stories I wanted to share. What do you have to say, Mr. Grizzly? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I will say this, ladies and gentlemen, my mom, when I was growing up, smoked 4 packs a day. 4 packs, ladies and gentlemen. And she was a home wife. She didn't have to work. Well, however, when I was in school, she went to work and she was trying to quit smoking. And as she was working, this stranger leaned over the counter and said, "Linda, you've got this. You will be able to make it through this hardship. Believe in Almighty, and it will become as one." She turned around to grab something. As she turned back, she asked everybody, "Where'd this guy go to?" They're like, "Linda, what are you talking about?" She's like, "The guy I've been sitting there talking to for 10 minutes. And they're like, "Linda, there's nobody that's been here. You weren't talking to nobody. So explain that."
Love it. Love it.
I think that was an angel.
Yeah.
So yes, I do agree in it.
Yeah.
A lot of people encounter something like this during hardships, traumatic near-death experiences, or an accident, whether it's
Yes.
a vehicle or medical or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and I say this, in 2019, I got hurt, and that's when they found what they found, right? And it is a miracle. So, and higher source, universe, like God, however you want to call it, does exist. And to hear your stories is very inspiration, not only to me, but also the viewers, because they don't know. We see it in movies. We hear it in other encounters on YouTube or social media, but to actually to hear it from somebody, it's an awe moment. So when you're down on your luck, turn it over and be grateful. You will get through it. I really do believe it.
Yeah. And what was interesting for me with the cards today, so I chose 2 angel cards and a mandala oracle card, and then 3 tarot cards just to get some messages for today for the group. Right. And the first card that I chose out of the group, and these angel cards are not all angels. They're all kinds of themes and different things, but Archangel Michael was the card that came. And so I was like, that was kind of like the little wink or nod from spirit going, yeah, you got it. You're on track here. And so the card says, when you are blessed with this angel card, you are guided to invoke Archangel Michael to help protect and strengthen you. Your angels will increase your ability to deal with problems. So remember to ask them to assist you and to help you and to fill you with strength and love. He, specifically Archangel Michael, will shield you from destructive thoughts, emotions, and the actions of others who would interfere with you shining your light. So that's kind of cool. I was like, yeah, remember to put that out. Then the next card was play. And look at the little card there. There's a little angel in the card. I was like, okay, I'm getting it, and it's like, beloved one, remember, it's time to set aside work for a while. Don't worry. We, your angels, will oversee your responsibilities. Playfulness, gaiety, laughter, and joyfulness will lift your energy so that when you do return to work, it'll be with a renewed perspective and a heightened energy. And so it's reminding us that, I remember seeing once, angels can fly because they take themselves so lightly. I remember that. It's probably a fortune cookie or something I had one time.
All right.
But it made an impact on me. I thought about it. It's like, yeah, having that sense of joyfulness and lightness and the spirit of play, that attracts spirit and energy to us in a way. It's it's like, let that inner child play and have fun and get out there in the world, right? You know, there's plenty of time to be the serious adults, but we also have this other wonderful aspect within each of us that helps us be closer to the angels when we are in that place of playful, joyful gratitude and truly being in the moment. And then the last card I chose, the one of the Mandala Oracle cards. This one was interesting because it's the past life card. And this says, past life power and wisdom are coming into you. It is important to channel this information. If you need to, imagine you are role-playing different characters that have the qualities that you need. Now, the reason I thought this was interesting is because a big part of what I've been thinking about lately is about ancient wisdoms, which got me thinking about the old scriptures that talked about the gods who came down from the heavens and taught them things and gave them tools and gave them knowledge. And I'm like, okay, those ancient laws, you know, we were around, you know, in some incarnation, we have experienced these beings. And so remembering that and bringing some of those ancient wisdoms to today's interactions and reclaiming some of that power and the abilities that we had in those lifetimes because of what these interdimensional benevolent beings shared with us, then can make it easier to open up to those things now. It's not, you know, it's like if you've done it before, it doesn't seem as hard to do it again, right? You know, so right. So that was kind of interesting. When I pulled that, that was the first thing I thought of, was like, oh yeah, you know, it wasn't just in this lifetime that you've experienced these interactions with beings, and whether the beings are the elementals and, you know, the people that tend to gardens just love interacting with the gnomes and the fairies and whatnot, you know, all of these beings that are supposedly from legend, when you go back far enough, it wasn't written as mythology. It was documenting their lives. It was documenting their history. It's like, why would some ancient people spend the effort it would have taken to grind down minerals to make them into paints and paint these incredible scenes on their cave walls if they're just making it all up? You know, they thought it was important enough to preserve, like, this really happened. This was our history. This isn't just some fairy tale we're telling our kids. You know, it was something that was meant to be remembered, because if we believe that those were real then it gives us permission to call out to those beings again now, because it gives us even more proof of their existence. You know, whether you've had that first encounter yourself, you know, that personal encounter where you're like, yeah, you know, I've experienced their energy. I've met them. I've been with them. I've conversed with them in some way, right? You know, you don't need to have that firsthand right now. If you can remember back, and it may feel like a dream, but, you know, challenge yourself, you know, and ask yourself in a dream, show me a time when I was in regular communion and communication with the beings that I called gods then, but I know now they're just benevolent interdimensional beings. You know, let me remember that so that I can call them back into my life now. The 3 tarot cards that I chose, past, present, future. Past, I like. It is the 10 of Swords upside down. And because it's upside down, it's a very good card, because it's saying you are no longer taking on other people's drama. In the past, we used to do that too much. We took on other people's problems, other people's drama. Well, one of the things that'll keep spirit away from us as quicker than anything is drowning in negative energy and drama, right? If we can't keep ourselves in a peaceful, open, receptive state, it's more difficult. If our energy is so low and wrapped around the drama that everybody else is trying to thrust into our lives, it's going to be very hard to keep our energy at a high enough vibration so that we'll be able to perceive and interact with these benevolent light beings. What I like about the Now card, this is the 7 of Pentacles. This is a card that says, we are working really hard as light workers to create balance in our life, create richness and prosperity and the quality of our life as we fulfill our purpose and shine our light. And this particular card also has a meaning of travel. And whether it is the physical travel of going places to have the experiences, or whether it's the metaphysical travel of out-of-body experiences, meditations, projecting your consciousness, imagining you're there, watching the Travel Channel for the sacred place you've always wanted to be. And while you're there, tune into the energy through the screen. We have so many ways that we can travel now without ever leaving the house and still be able to access the sacred energies, the mystical experiences that have happened in some of these places. They leave an energy residue that if you have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to feel, you can tap into those and see what is there for you when you're in the presence of that vibration and that energy. And then the last card for the future, this is reminding us all that it's important to take time for ourselves. It's okay to be out there and busy and sharing and go, 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 but we have to take the time to recharge our battery, to be quiet. And that's a big one for me, guys. I love to talk, as you probably have noticed, if you've been to any of these episodes or any of my other stuff. But taking the time to slow down, to be still. What's the Bible quote? Be still and know that I am God, right? Okay.
Yes.
Be still. In that stillness, in that quiet is where we can have the revelations, the promptings of spirit, the influx, the downloads of information that we need, or empowerment with the spiritual gifts that will serve us in our serving of others and helping others. So I thought this was kind of a fun message that came through, just kind of giving us a thumbs up of we're on the right track, and a little reminder from spirit to call out to them, to have that sense of play, and to remember to call out for help to those benevolent beings when you want or need it, as much as you would call a friend. And, just want to, hey, you know what, I'm having a hard time. I need another person's point of view on this, or what do you think about that? Or, can you help me see this in a different way? Spirit loves when you ask for insight, when you ask for revelation, when you ask for promptings. That's part of the reason that they're there. That's part of their purpose, to be the guides. They're called the guide for a reason. What good is being a guide if you have nobody to guide? It'd be kind of boring, right? So
Right.
They're like, woohoo, somebody's asking for help. All right, let's go. Your thoughts on the cards that came up for today, Riz? Anything that comes to mind for you?
Yeah, it actually is. So I have all kinds of Oracle decks, and I was not into Oracle decks until last year. And I was talking to Kelly Joe and our other psychics on her platform, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm buying these decks. I'm told to buy them. And as I was doing readings and talking to people, they were like, I'm being told to grab in my desk drawer a certain deck that I never used before. And when I saw the Archangel Michael, he has been my protector most of all my life, because in law enforcement, we carry his challenge coins. And I've actually have challenge coins that are into crosses with his prayer of protection on him that we actually sell and I actually give to other law enforcement personnel. So that really resonated with me. And when spirit has message, right? And this is what we talk about in other shows as well, and to people, we do not understand the message we're given. It is for them to understand and for them to resonate with. Just like when you give a psychic medium reading, when somebody on the other side is waving a yellow carnation or a specific plant or an herb, I don't know what that means. It's for them to tell us that, yes. And this is what we call, evidential mediumship.
Right.
Is where people will come to us to validate that your loved one or your friend is present in our presence, trying to give you a message, not, oh, I believe, or I think. We don't know what this means, do we?
No.
So, yeah, and everything you're saying, I get confirmation, and it resonates so well, and the audience is right there with you. They love your topic, and
Cool.
it's just great. Yeah, it's great.
So do we have any questions that had popped up on the stream that you noticed that I should use as a springboard?
Actually, it's mostly confirmations, but ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions, do not forget.
Sure.
Make sure and put in all caps, so that way when we get to a certain spot or during a topic, I can mark them and I can come back and present them for us. So yeah, so make sure while she's talking, put them all caps.
Yeah.
We'll definitely answer them for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the other reasons, I think, to become very intimately connected with these benevolent interdimensional beings is because then you can be of so much comfort to other people in your life who aren't as open as you are. And the guides can help inspire you what to do, what to say. Even if you're not a trained medium, you can still open your mind and your heart and allow an impression to come to you. And if you say, Spirit, just use me to bless this person who is suffering and mourning and grieving the loss of, in this case, a brother just passed of a friend of mine. And my friend called me up and she's like, is he okay? And, was somebody there to get him? And, what was going on? And of course, I'm trained as a medium, but even if I wasn't, what I would have done and had done before in the past is I just opened my mind and my heart and said, please give me the information that will help her find the closure, the comfort, whatever she needs in this moment. Those kind of heartfelt prayers, Spirit answers, especially when they are those selfless prayers, because you're trying to help somebody else. Spirit will empower you and give you the exact right thing to say. You can trust and know that as a fact, and try it out if you doubt it. Just have that sense of curiosity. But if your purpose truly is to love and serve and help somebody who's in pain, I will tell you, the angels are like lifting you up on their wings to help get you whatever is needed, because you are the voice for the people who no longer have a voice on the other side of the veil. You are the voice of Spirit, who doesn't have a physical voice, but they can telepathically communicate with us. They can prompt us and inspire us and plant thoughts in our mind that give us the answers that we need, and that the person in front of us would find useful and comforting and help them feel loved again. So
absolutely. There's two things for you there, dear. Number one, Anna D. Thank you, Anna D, for your question. I do apologize I missed it. She's asking, can you describe an earth angel? My niece says, I'm an earth angel, and I hear earth angel. What is your take?
Sure. So most of us are angels in disguise, right? We don't have our wings anymore. We are bound down by the laws of physics on this side of the veil. And we forget that at the core of our being, we are light beings. And so many of us can be, because we choose to be, an angel for somebody else, and how we care for them, how we minister to them, how we tune in, and we have a special relationship with them. The relative that you're talking about, and you have a special soul link so that you always know when she needs something. You always show up. You have this inspiration of, oh, I should buy this thing for her. She'll like this. Or, oh, she needs this now. I should just give her. Your intuition is enabling you to act as a true angel for her on this physical plane, right? Those in spirit are limited to their rules as well, right? There's only so much interaction they can have with us on the physical plane. And so those of us that are already here, that we're in body, we're like, okay, yeah, sure. I'll sign up for that. Why not? And we sign up for that as a part of our karmic plan, part of our soul purpose, part of, before we come down into each lifetime, we kind of have a big picture roadmap of, okay, here's the big building blocks. Doesn't take anything away from our free will and free choice. We can, navigate around all that, or we can throw out the plan altogether if we want once we're going. We have that ability. But if we're following that plan more or less, and we said, you know what, whenever possible, let me be of service to my fellow brothers and sisters. Let me shine my light. Let me use my gifts to help them in whatever way they need. You are their angel. You are somebody that cares about them. They feel loved. They don't feel judged by you. They know you're there for them. You've got their back. You are a living angel to that person. And so feel that, and you can amplify that by actually inviting those benevolent interdimensional beings, angels, other forces of light, to empower you, to guide you in the service of the people that you're ministering, that look to you as an angel in their life, right? And there's lots of ways to be an angel for somebody, right? I think I've been watching, I don't know why lately it's had my attention, but all these like Weather Channel, like the worst tornado stories of the last century, or the worst 10 worst hurricanes of the decade, or, survival stories. And one of the things that I noticed time and again was that the best of humanity came out, and total strangers would risk their life for somebody else who was in danger. And afterwards, the person that was saved would say things to them like, oh my God, God must have sent you. You were an angel. And by the way, I believe the translation of the meaning of the word angel is messenger, right? And so the messages that we share to others of hope, of comfort, of love, of acceptance, encouragement, guidance, if you're sharing messages like that, you are choosing to be an angel in its truest form of the word. I hope that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does. And it's weird because I was having a conversation with Christina and another fellow outlaw family member. And she says, when I talk to people, I get told messages by food taste.
Mhm.
And I was like, that's interesting because Spirit's talking to you about how you used to be a chef. So when family members or loved ones or friends passed over, how she knows who they are is they give her food. That's the only way she knows. That's
awesome.
The only way she knows.
I
Because
love
she
it.
was asking somebody on her network, she's like, so who made you these fudge brownie, chocolate brownie thingies that you love? And because she's here, and then they're like, oh, it's my grandmother. And then she'll be like, blah, 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 blah. And it's
I
unique
love
because
that.
everybody's abilities are not the same. Some are stronger than others, some are wider on across the band, right? But each one of you all have a unique way to give information and validation to people. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other question that's popped up there?
Yeah, no, they're just giving you hearts and soul sisters and fascinating and yeah, so
Yeah.
absolutely.
So one
Absolutely.
other thing that popped up today, and it's not meant necessarily be a commercial, but I was realizing that my friend who wrote this book, Craig and Julis, this book, Psychic Tarot, it just had its 40th anniversary, and it was re-released by the publisher, and it sold over 100,000 copies. And this is the companion book for the tarot deck that I use, the Aquarian deck. And so I thought, what better time to teach people how to read the tarot deck then in this anniversary year. And since I'd be using that deck. And so on Halloween this year, if you're not going out trick-or-treating and you want to learn how to read tarot cards, I'm going to be doing a Zoom workshop from 6 to 8. And all the information is on my website, which you can see on the banner that floats across every now and again. It's the AletheaJacob.com. But I thought it would be really cool to help people feel that they can play and experiment with the gifts for themselves and others with the different tools. And then, of course, I mentioned it last time, but I'm going to be leading a retreat in Sedona in November, 8th, 9th, and 10th. And this is meant to be a path to empowerment, how to access your intuition and develop your spiritual gifts. And so there's this theme that seems to be popping up that Spirit's nudging me, like people need to have the freedom to explore and learn about their gifts under the guidance of somebody they feel safe with that knows what they're talking about. So even though I'm like, really, I've been doing this for 40 years, it seems kind of, seems like, oh, I'm teaching beginners, but it's like, no, it's not about beginners or not. It's whatever your spiritual gifts are. It's so important that you are encouraged to develop them and experiment with them and see not only how they can serve you, which is a fine enough reason to go experiment and play, but you can also then use them to help your friends and your family and your loved ones. And maybe eventually you'll get that call or prompting to help and be of service to anybody who shows up, whether they're a stranger or not. Because once you help them, they're no longer a stranger. They become that friend or that extended family. But so that shining our light and being playful and learning more and bringing from the past lives any of the knowledge and the wisdom and the tools and abilities that we had and bringing them back into this life. It seems like the theme that I'm feeling Spirit impressing upon me to share with you all is the importance of empowering each other and supporting each other and teaching each other and creating and holding the spaces, the safe spaces where you can experiment and learn and grow and see what is your tools of choice, which tools that when you're using them or gifts that you're using them, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like play and you're letting Spirit flow through you and it's effortless and it's joyful and your soul just starts to, your heart expands and your soul expands and there's so much light and joy and great energy that's around you because you're doing something that is so much in alignment with what Spirit hopes for all of us. And so that I think is kind of a way to loop around it.
No, absolutely. I do have a question from Little Twisted.
Sure.
She
Okay.
wants to know, can you tell how to learn to listen? When listening, it was hard for me to trust my intuition. And I think she's talking about spirit guides and so forth for a long time. What is your recommendation on that, ma'am?
Okay. So 2 exercises that I always recommend to anybody who's trying to discern. First, the voice of your own intuition, how to trust that. I have one exercise. And the other is how to discern whether or not it is your own imagination that you're hearing in your head and your own voice that you're hearing in your head, or whether it's the voice of Spirit. So the first thing is it's totally natural and normal for our intellect to question our intuition.
Correct.
Totally normal, right? Because sometimes the intuition comes up with things that you're like, whoa, where did that come from, right? Out of left field. So part of our survival mechanism and the reason we have our brains and intelligences that we do is to have that critical thinking. So it serves a purpose. But if you can, for about a month, keep a journal and write down anytime you have an intuitive prompting. You write down what it is, next column next to it, what you did about it, and then what the outcome was. What's going to happen is at the end of that month, you're going to see a pattern. Your intellect will recognize a pattern that when I listen to the intuition, something good happens or I avoid something bad. If I don't listen to the intuition, it's the inverse. And little by little, your intellect becomes an advocate for your intuition instead of that adversarial, like, prove it to me kind of relationship. And so, like, an example might be, I got prompted to take I-95 instead of the Merritt Parkway in Connecticut, where I used to live. What did I do? I blew that off. I don't like to drive with trucks, so I decided to stick with the Parkway. And the outcome was I wound up being 3 hours late for my appointment because there was a deer hit and they had to clear the road and it was a mess and I should have listened, right? All right. So those kind of things, you write that down. So it's the act of writing it down that also tells your subconscious, hey, I'm paying attention now. Hey, intuition, you got more for me? What do you got? What do you got? What do you got? I'm paying attention, right? And so it starts to build the momentum and build the case for you so that your intellect will become that partner. And you wind up with this great cohesiveness between your mind, your intellect, your heart, your feelings, and your gut, those knowings. When you have all of those three things coherent together and aligned, it's powerful, it's life-changing, and it gives you the tools that you need to navigate wherever your soul wants you to go. The other thing that I would recommend doing as far as how to tell the voice, like if it's a channeled voice or spirit voice versus your own voice. It's like, well, it's popping in my head. How do I know it's just not me making it up? So one of the quick exercise, and you can all do this at home or as you're listening, unless you're driving. So don't close your eyes if you're driving and listening to this. All right. Safety
Right.
first.
Yeah, ladies
and
gentlemen, absolutely.
So what I'd like you to do is think of whatever song you would like and just run the lyrics through your head. Sing them in your head somewhere. Just a couple, like, a line or two. It doesn't have to be a whole song, but just take a second and do that. And now notice, where did you hear that voice that was singing, that was saying the words of that lyric? Where did you hear it in your head? Did you hear it even in your head? Did you hear it outside of you somewhere? Did you perceive it on the left side, the right side, up close, in your body somewhere? Where did you perceive those words of that song that you made up and chose yourself? Okay, so now that you have that, I'm going to suggest, I would like everybody right now to sing whatever verse you'd like of Mary Had a Little Lamb in your head. I'm an outside source. I'm asking you, here's the message. Mary had a little lamb. Sing that in your head. People are like, oh my God, I'm too old. I don't remember that damn fairy.
Little twist it to send the song in is like, Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. And I got that stuck in my head. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, thank you so much for that. Right. So, but I want everybody who did that and played along, and if you played along with this game at home, notice where Mary Had a Little Lamb resonated or was perceived in your energy field. It's not the same place. It's a different location. So now you know, if a thought pops up into your head, that's of your own creation, it's going to be probably in the place that you perceived it first. If it's spirit prompting you and planting seeds, giving you information, telling you to think certain things, it's going to be in that second location. So you can use that as a little bit of a guide and play with that. And the more that you get used to it and doing it, the more confidence you have that in how it's working and why it works. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, little twist is like, wow, that was different.
Yeah. Because there's a huge difference between my internal voice, your internal voice, and the voice of an external, like a benevolent interdimensional being, whether it's spirits from the other side, whether it's guides, angels, you name it, or somebody else trying to get the information in you. It's going to register in a different place. Oh my God, I can't believe we're almost out of time. Any final question?
Right?
Wow, you guys, this is so much fun for me. I hope it's fun for you, because I have a blast doing these and sharing this stuff with y'all. And if you do like it, I hope you're doing all the nice social media things of liking, sharing, following, and all that stuff that I don't really know a lot about, but I know you do because you're on the channels.
Right. So,
Yep.
all
right, last little plug from me here, and then I'll take any last. I just want to make sure people know that I have 2 books out there on Amazon. One here, The Creative Not Now. This is a book that'll help you get balance in your life in areas of finance, health, relationships, spirituality, and time. It's just little thoughts. It's a quick little book, bathroom. I call it a bathroom book because it's just a quick read, but it's things for you to think about and ponder and make some good changes to bring back balance in your life. And then this Portal to Potential. This is all inspired, channeled writings from Spirit that came through me. And all of the proceeds from this go to the Monroe Institute Scholarship Fund. And this is on Amazon as well. And I would almost recommend that people start from the back where there's questions to ponder and random thoughts, because these are the things where Spirit was saying, think about what you want to do in your life. Think about who you are. What if, like, one of the questions I love that was asked is, what if the world was really perfect and we just had to figure out how to see it that way? And what if we were really perfect, like a sculpture from Michelangelo, and our job was to chip away all the stuff that wasn't that perfection and hold the vision of the truth of the core of our perfection that's maybe trapped inside that marble still somehow, right? So there's really beautiful, uplifting stuff that came through me. And I can say they're beautiful and uplifting because they came through me. I didn't make them up. I wrote them down, right? The only thing I literally wrote in that book was the introduction and some information on thoughts about spirituality. Everything else that's in there was channeled. And here's a really big tip for y'all. Whenever you read anything that's channeled, listen to music that was channeled, view a painting that was channeled, you have the ability to backtrace, just like a salmon swimming upstream. And you can follow that energy beam all the way back to the source of whatever the person was channeling. And you can get from that source what you need. So you may not need inspired writing or a painting or music. You might need an answer to how to heal a problem in your life, or to improve a relationship, or to launch a new business. Doesn't matter. Whatever you need, you can use anything that's channeled and inspired. You can follow that channel back up to the source and find what you need and bring that back down. So I encourage you, if it's not my stuff, find somebody's stuff that really resonates with you and use that for your own purpose. It's kind of like the antenna on a radio station. You know, once you lock in one channel at your receiver, you have the opportunity. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm connected. I can change the channel and go wherever I need to. That serves my purposes in the moment. So that's a little plug there with a to-do for any y'all as well.
Absolutely. That was great. That went by so quick. Unbelievable.
It did. Any final thoughts from you, Grizz, or any questions that popped up while I was summing up there at the end?
No. Everybody's saying, I will practice this. This is amazing. They have learned so much. A lot of hearts and emojis going. So, yes, thank you all.
Wonderful.
And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, we got another show coming up at 9 p.m. Eastern. Make sure to tune in for that. And Athena, been wonderful. God bless everybody. We'll see you here shortly from coast to coast around the world. Bye-bye.
All right. See you next week.